Hey guys, I'm Jacinta and welcome to the Fearlss podcast, where I interview athletes who've achieved incredible things. Today's guest represents Australia in motocross. He's travelled all around the world competing. In today's podcast, we talk about what it's like being at a pro level, the training that's involved, the mindset that you have to have, and then also he shares his advice on how to get to a pro level status. I'd like to welcome Dean Ferris. Welcome to the podcast, Dean. Now, I know you are a multi-stage motocross champion and you represent Australia, but let's get a little bit more specific because I don't understand exactly what that means.
All right, so I'm a motocross rider and I'm a multi-time Australian champion.
Right.
And I represent Australia in the Motocross of Nations. So once a year we have one race where every nation picks their three best riders and we go and compete against each other as a nation. And I've done that 6 times now.
Wow.
So that was the last race that I did, and it's probably why it's fresh on your mind.
Yeah, that's crazy. And is it hard to get at the top where you're at?
Well, yeah. I mean, there's probably 1 million people in Australia, that ride dirt bikes, and I've made it to the top of that. You know what I mean? So there's been a lot of blood, sweat and tears to get here. But I mean, kind of like any elite athlete or elite sportsman or someone right at the top, they've got to go through hard times and work it out. It's definitely not easy. Otherwise, everyone would be doing it, or be a champion. So
yeah. And have you done this all your life, or is this something that
I've ridden all my life. I mean, I started before I can remember because I grew up on a big farm. I'm a country bumpkin still live like almost in the exact same place.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I've traveled all around the world, but I always just come home.
Yeah.
And so, I just started riding around the farm, and I had cousins that were racing. So I just kind of followed them. And before you know it, I started winning races, and it just kind of compounded from there, really.
Yeah. And how do you get into it? So like you said, you start a race and then like you obviously won it. And then how do you get to pro? Like it does like
well, it's really tough because me and Renee, my partner, we talk quite often. There's probably 20 people at the same age as us that could have made it to my level just in southeast Queensland.
Wow.
But so obviously people fall off the perch and they get a job or they get an injury or they get caught up with girls or drugs or alcohol or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So it's quite tough to make it through. You just have to really persist and want to do it, and have a bit of luck and also start to use your brain a little bit. But pretty much, everyone races until they're 16, and that's when you hit the senior ranks. And that's, when people finish school and get jobs and have to start paying for it, and it's quite expensive to do it.
Yeah.
So, like, for me, my mum supported me in my first year when I started working a little bit. And I was working and trying to race, like, at a high level. And in the under 19s class, so it was like the kiddies class of the pros.
Yeah.
And I remember I was like, holy, this is taxing. I want to have a real good go. Yeah. So I asked my boss for time off, which is no problem because he was a cool boss, and and his son, his son used to race as well, and he rides bikes. So I said, I need 4 months off to focus. Yeah. And that was the last half of the Nationals Championship that year. And I said,
this is when you were 19?
No, this is when I was 16.
16.
So I asked for time off.
Yeah.
I'd saved up enough money to get me through those last 4 rounds, and my mum was supporting me a little bit as well. I was living at home and I had no expenses. Yeah. And I said, if I make it, I won't be back. Yeah. And if I don't, I'll be back here working in 4 months. And I've never gone back to work. Wow. I signed a contract at the end of the championship for Factory Honda, and I've been getting paid ever since. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So is that like your sponsor?
Well, that was the sponsor of the time. We usually do year-round contracts, and as in motocross, everyone's swapping and changing and trying this team, that team. And like for me, I had the big dream and goal to go overseas. Not everyone does, and I did. So when I finished up here, after a year contract, I went and lived in Europe for 4 years and raced there and chased the world championship because my goal was to be, to see how good I could get.
Yeah. And how did you go in the world titles?
My best overall finish was 6th.
Yeah.
I won a Grand Prix, which makes me one of 4 Australian riders to ever do so.
Wow.
So, and that's next to some really, really big names. Yeah. So that was really cool to do that. Yeah. And apart from that, had some national wins while I was over there because I was racing national championships as well as the World Grand Prix. But ultimately, after 4 years, Australia brought me home, and I've been back here ever since. And actually, always intended to go back, and like this year I had a bit of a stint in America, but now I'm just happy to settle down in Australia and finish out my career here and, see how many championships I can win.
Yeah. And when you're in Europe, did you learn more about motocross? Because you're from Australia. So did you learn anything different, or like, do they race differently over there, or?
It's just a higher level of everything, and it's a bigger paddock. Everything's just bigger and badder there. And we're traveling all around the world.
Yeah.
Like every country or every continent except Africa. They do that sometimes in Antarctica, obviously, but yeah.
Do they really go to Antarctica?
No, except Antarctica. They clearly don't go there. I
was like, how does that work?
We're racing all over the world, so you learn other things aside from motocross. You learn about foods and cultures and all the cool stuff and languages. But I mean, as an athlete, you're always learning. Yeah. You're always trying to improve and get better, and even coming back from Europe to Australia, and I've been here the last 4 years, and I feel like I might have learnt more coming back and being here and just being a bit older and wiser and, with my eyes wide open rather than being young and naive. Yeah.
And how long is a career in motocross? Like, how does it, usually...
Well, it's typically, quite short. But again, for an elite athlete in a sport, it doesn't last forever, you know what I mean? And I remember thinking when I was 15 at the time, like, if you make it to 30, you've done awesome. And I'm like 29 and a half now, and there's like no chances any end in sight.
Yeah.
But I think, just being a little smarter, or, people getting more knowledge on training and supplements and things like that now, we're seeing people last longer in motocross, which is really cool, because I'd be sad as hell if I had to, give up now. But, look, I'll be happy. I think I've got 3 to 4 good years in me, which will make me 33 or so.
Yeah.
And then after that, I have to start looking elsewhere. But yeah, typically anything over 30 is a really good bonus. 35's and if you're still at the top of the sport in 35, which there is, like at the moment, there's a 35-year-old racing the world championships, and he's like the best.
Wow.
He's got all the young guys nipping on his heels, but he's still there and he's still good. Yeah. So it's really good inspiration, actually.
Yeah. And why do you think it is when you're older that it is not many people are in it? Do you think that they get over it, or?
Yeah, I think it's more burnout than anything.
Okay.
Obviously some people get injured, but typically it's more just burnout, because motocross is such a grind. I mean, not just on your body, because it's just daylight till dark, and to be fit enough to go the distance in a motocross race, it consumes your life.
Yeah.
But all the travel and things like that, it really catches up with you. But I think myself coming back to Australia, where the travel slows down a little bit, you can hang at home a little bit more. There's a race every 2 weekends. You're not like getting on a plane with your passport and flying, over the Atlantic every second weekend. It can really prolong your career, and I think that's what it's done to me back here, coming back home and not staying there in Europe.
Yeah, because traveling, you're fatigued for one, and you got not enough sleep, and then you're probably not having the right nutrition. So yeah, that would affect your performance overall.
Yeah, I think it's quite tough, but some people seem to like it. Like the old guy I was talking about. Yeah. He just kind of, when you meet him, he seems cruisy as, nothing really worries him. I don't know if he flies first class everywhere. He probably does. It probably makes a big difference.
Yeah, he really lax back, and he's sweet. So when you travel, how many places have you been overseas? Do you know?
Wow. I think I tried to tally this up the other day.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the other year probably, but I think probably 25 countries I might have raced in over that 4-year span, because there's typically 18 Grand Prix. Yeah. And most years we go back to the same place, but every year there's a couple of new ones on the calendar. Yeah. So I think probably 25 countries I've raced in.
Yeah. And what country is the toughest to race against?
Well, no locals are better than the Grand Prix riders.
Okay.
So it's not tougher, but it's the elements that really catch you out. Yeah. So for instance, we went to Mexico in 2012 and we were racing at a really high altitude. And as you know, that's taxing on your body. There's not much oxygen. Yeah. And it was 40 degrees.
Oh my God.
So we were death warmed up after the race. That wasn't that wasn't much fun. But as for the locals, we were lapping them. So I mean, the competition wasn't any different.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And how long is a race length always the same when you compete, or is it always different? Is there different levels, or how does it work?
Yeah, in motocross it is. So when you make it to the pro ranks, it's Normally always 30 minutes plus lap or plus 2 laps in the Grand
30
Prix.
minutes.
Yep. And we're, yeah.
Oh, shit. How's your forearms?
And we have 2 races on the day plus a warm-up.
What's a warm-up?
Well, you do warm-up practice qualifying.
Oh, right. Okay, so you've got to get in.
So it's really taxing.
Yeah.
And then you do 2 35-minute motos, essentially.
Oh, my gosh.
And we're operating at anaerobic the whole time, like maxing out.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, you're pretty shagged. And that's why, like I said earlier, you got to be so fit to be able to go the distance. Otherwise, you know, the next guy's going to pass you.
So tell us about that. Like your forearms would have to be strong, right? Because you're holding on the whole time. So they'd have to be, I don't know how you'd handle it.
Yeah, they do. We typically have strong forearms as motocrossers, but there's a thing called arm pump in motocross.
Yeah.
And when you hang on too tight, it pumps up with blood and it doesn't pump it out. And you just lose all strength and you can't even hang on. You can't even ride pretty much. You'd almost just fall off the bike. Yeah. So you really need to have a good technique. So you're not actually hanging on too tight. Have a strong core and, you know, legs and everything. So you're gripping the bike and you have a good technique. So you're flowing with the bike as well. Because if you're hanging on for dear life with a bad technique, you're only going to make it 1 lap before you just can't hang on or pull the clutch in or use the brakes.
Yeah. That makes sense. So you're saying like the legs would hold on as well as, and then everything says one.
Yeah,
unit.
Honestly, every muscle from the the top of your head to your toes you're using in motocross. It's really an underrated sport when it at a top level. But and we're geared up, so we've got like 6 to 8 kilos of gear on. Yeah, and it's normally hot, and we're racing at an anaerobic level. Yeah.
So do you dehydrate during a race?
Yeah. Yeah, we sure do. I estimate probably I would sweat 2.5 to 3 kilos in 35 minutes.
Holy hell.
Like, I'm a bit of a sweater. Yeah. So
but how do you restock your levels ready for the next race?
You got to take a few supplements.
Yeah. What is that you take?
Well, I typically just take Hydrolyte. Yeah. Because I found it's like the best thing that's low in sugar. Yeah. To stay on top of it. But I remember one day last summer, I thought I would actually just measure for the whole day how much water I'd drink, because you're just scoffing down water all day. And I thought, I wonder how much it is. Anyway, it was 8 litres. Whoa. At the end of the day, and I was still dehydrated.
Get out.
Yeah. And that was a day where I did, just riding. Yeah. So a 30-minute warm-up, 2 35-minute motos, practicing at home. It was hot for sure, because our summers are pretty brutal, but 8 litres is how much I had to drink, and that's day in, day out. Yeah. When I'm training. And
then after like a race, do you have to have something so you don't get the effects of dehydration, or have you never had?
No, for sure you do. It normally takes you a day to catch up. Yeah, right. You know what I mean? And if you ever see me outside in the public, you won't catch me without a bottle of water in my hand because of that reason, because it's just so hard to stay on top of it. Yeah.
Oh, and does food affect, like, you would eat certain food depending on the race, is that correct? Or does that not matter?
Oh, I keep my diet really simple. So I eat the same thing on race day.
Yeah, what is that?
Well, it's just cheese on toast and bananas.
Cheese on toast and bananas?
Yeah, I keep it really basic because I know that doesn't play out with me.
Ah, okay.
Because sometimes when you got a bit of... I don't actually get nervous, but... there must be like that fight or flight come in, you know what I mean? And some foods really upset your stomach, but that doesn't. It works for me, so I just go with it. That's your thing?
Yeah. And Hydrolyte?
And Hydrolyte.
And then do you have a feast like after?
Oh, yeah. Just whatever's going, I'll just eat as much as I can straight after.
Yeah, I bet. And before the race, like you said that you didn't get nervous, but do you mentally prep how you're going to take each turn? What do you do?
Yeah, for sure you do. Look, in the morning or the day before you walk the track, you kind of know how it's going to form up when you look at the weather and how they've ripped up the track. Yeah. And being around for a while now, you just kind of get to know through experience. Yeah. And then before each moto, you get 1 sight lap just before. So you do a lap and you roll around, you look at the lines, and we've got about 1 minute back on the line before the gates drop and we go to race. Yeah. And in that minute, I'm visualizing the lines that I want to take. Yeah. On the racetrack. So you got to know, you got to have a good memory, and you got to remember every line, because you're coming over big jumps and you got to land in the right rut. Yeah. So that's what I do. Yeah. I visualize which line I want to take. So I'm just straight on my game.
Ready to go. Mm-hmm. And do you have, like, now you've quite experienced, obviously, like, do you have enough faith in yourself to know that you're always going to land it correctly, or have you got into like some positions?
Yeah, for sure. And that's just experience. I'm currently in the middle of building a masterclass, and that's one thing I need to cover. Yeah. And I actually have to think back so far into my memory when I didn't know how to jump. Yeah. And how nervous I used to get. And it was just through trial and error and experience that you learn how to judge a jump. Yeah. Because it's an art, just knowing how far you got to go. Yeah. But no, I don't get nervous anymore. I'm normally all over it.
Yeah. And that would have a lot to do with the bike as well. Hey, like even like, I don't actually know, like I've rode a motorbike, but I've never done a jump on it. Like, do you have to, like, obviously you accelerate, and do you have to stand in certain positions for it? Is that all
yeah, it's all technique.
Yeah. Okay.
I couldn't tell you which position to actually stand in. It's something that comes so natural. Yeah. And every jump's different. Every jump's got holes or ruts or a different takeoff and a different down ramp, and you got crosswinds and all sorts of elements happening. Yeah. But just through so much practice, we subconsciously know what to do. Yeah. But yeah, it's an art.
Yeah, it sounds full on. You'd have to know what's going on.
Yeah, and you know what? When I said you have to learn through trial and error, that means like big crashes of jumps when you're a kid. Like, but thankfully we're only on like 80s that are half the weight, and you're not going. You know, you're only going half the speed, and we're a little bit more rubbery when we're younger. Yeah. So you learn in those younger years when you can just bounce back up.
Yeah. So have you ever been in a huge crash and had a good injury, or?
Yeah, I've had quite a few injuries through my career. Mainly just my upper wings. You know what I mean? Like I've got a pretty bad looking elbow, and you know, mostly on my left arm, my wrist here.
Are they from jumps, or are they from turning corners? Or?
No, none of them's from jumps actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're just all from separate incidents. Actually, no, my wrist was from a jump. Yeah.
Okay. And what happens, like when you're like in a race? Does the race stop, or?
Well, that one wasn't a race; it was just practice. Yeah. I don't know. I just lost my marbles and did something wrong off a jump. Yeah. But yeah, the other injuries they've been in a race, and I think when you're just so caught up in the moment, it's normally my monkey brain that's taken over, and I didn't actually think about the situation that I got myself into. Yeah. And you know, in those instances, you know, you're just flying through the air again. And thinking, oh no, I've messed up. Yeah. You know what I mean? But there's been times I had big crashes and been really lucky as well. Yeah. And thankful that I could just bounce back up on the bike and keep going for sure. Yeah. It's not every time you get hurt, but the few times I have is mostly at the race, yes.
Yeah. And do a lot of people get a lot of injuries at race time, or?
Yeah.
Because I've seen some horrific.
Yeah, I think it's pretty unheard of to go through a motocross career at my level without getting injuries. It's actually completely unheard of. Oh. But there's been people get a lot of injuries and they just finish out, and there's been like a lot of good riders that are really clever and have a really high race IQ, and they can seem to just keep themselves out of trouble. So it's something you need to work on and develop, and make sure you're always, you know, on your game when you go to the race.
Yeah. And you're like, because what you were saying, you're at a high threshold, are you trying to slow down your breath in the race, like trying to calm through as you're racing along, or are you just completely...
There's definitely been times in the past when I wasn't quite fit enough, where you have to really talk your way through it and try to calm, you know, your breath down, or keep it, you know, slow it down a little bit. But in the last few years, I feel like I've been on top of my training. I've got a trainer, his name's Guy Andrews. He's a mid-90s Ironman champion.
Oh, cool.
So I hooked up with him probably 6-7 years ago now. Yeah. And since coming back from Europe 4 years ago, I've been really close with him. Yeah. And we've just evolved with the sport and with all the knowledge that comes out, and feel like I've, you know, been on top of it here in Australia. And I've never had a moto here that I've actually struggled. I've always just pushed to my potential the whole time.
Yeah. And what sort of training are you guys doing?
Well, typically cycling is where all our aerobic training comes from. Some running, but mostly cycling. And then
is that like a hit cycle, or is it like endurance cycle?
No, it's mostly endurance cycle.
Okay.
Yeah, because the actual riding is so intense itself that all the cycling that I do is to support the riding, because the riding's anaerobic.
Yeah, right.
On the bike. So
is that sort of like strengthening you a little bit? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, like I need that aerobic base, and that's where I get that from the bicycle. Yeah. And because every time I'm on the motorbike, my heart rate's at 180. Yeah. Because it's so intense. So I just need, you know, the cycle to support what you do on the bike. And then I do a lot of core, a lot of strength workouts, a lot of stretching, mobility work and things like that.
Is that like weight training and stuff?
Yeah,
or?
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and then, so like on the day, like I'm so interested to know, like when you're in a race and there's someone beside you and you feel like they're going to overtake you, what do you do? Like, do you strategically take corners like a certain way to try and beat them, or how do...
Oh, look, it depends on where you are in the race and who it is and how strong you're feeling. Like, for sure, there's times when I was doing Grand Prix, I'd get a good start and, you know, there's world champions coming through that were better than me.
Yeah.
And in that time, there's no point cutting them off and putting up, you know, a fight. You ride your own race, and if they can make it past you, they will. But if it's towards the end of the race and you're like, I can hold them off for 2 laps. Yeah, then you close, we say in motocross, close the door, and you take protective lines.
Yeah.
But if it's early in the race and someone's come up on you, there's probably nothing you can do. And sometimes if you're clever, you can kind of just let them pass without, you know, you losing too much time, and then you can just tag onto them or throw an anchor onto them, and they can pull you through the field, or, you know, they got better lines, you can learn a lot.
Yeah.
But for instance, like when you're going for a championship, or I've been here in Australia, that you never want to give them an inch.
Yeah.
You always take the best line, you ride as hard as you can, and if they're ever trying to pass you, there's no way you're gonna just let them pass like that.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Because like I couldn't imagine, like mentally, like it would be like a little stuff around for me. Like if someone was overtaking me, I would be competitive. I'd wanna...
For sure, it's something that you have to develop. Like I remember starting as a kid, you just go gun ho.
Yeah.
And whatever, you know, if you made it the checkered flag first, you made it there. There was no thinking going on. You were just all instinct, you know what I mean? But as you get older, you start to think about it a little bit more, and you can be quite strategic if you want to.
Yeah. So pretty much what you're saying is consistency is the key, and experience.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I wish I did have this experience when I was 18. I wish I had the experience then that I do now, but I didn't, you know. And I actually started pretty late. I started racing when I was 10, and that's pretty late in motocross.
Well, so what's a normal age?
Oh, guys are, you know, starting racing at 5 years old or 4 years old,
Actual going in a race?
Yeah, there's 50 races. Like, they're in their own division and age group. And, kids are racing at 4 years old on 50s.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And do they fall over?
Yeah. Yeah, they're sometimes some of the best races to watch, because they just hold it wide open and hope for the best, and sometimes they crash, but they always get up.
Oh my God.
And, you know, the parents are running across the racetrack to help them get going, because the mini bike dads are right into it, or soccer mums, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that'd be so cute though. Like
yeah, it might be. It could be me in like 2-3 years, because my little girls are going to be at that age, and I'm pretty sure they're going to race motocross or ride or want to, you know, do some sort of dirt bike riding. Yeah,
because they're leading by you. They can see it.
Yeah, I've told myself I'm not going to be the mini bike dad, but who knows? Maybe I will be.
You probably will be. And they're so cute that they would look so cute on the bike.
Yeah.
How heavy is like a get up that you put on?
Yeah, like 6 to 8 kilos.
6 to 8 kilos.
Yeah, so the boots are quite heavy, because you need a lot of protection, because it's close to the ground. We wear knee braces, nylons, top and bottom, body armor, helmet, goggles, gloves.
Yeah.
And then obviously it stays pretty heavy when you sweat too, because it just soaks into the gear. Yeah,
no wonder why you get dehydrated. Yeah. That's crazy. So to go to, like, let's just say that I'm a motocross rider now. How would I go about going to a pro level? Like, what avenues would I take to get to that? What's your best advice?
I'd probably reach out to a mentor and get some guidance, because when you just go to the track, there's going to be 10 to 15 people telling you what to do, and it's all a different strategy. Yeah. So what I did, I reached out to someone that could help me, and I just listened to that person. Yeah. Because I believed in them, and I went that way. Yeah. Rather than, you know, just listen to everyone. 'Cause I don't know, everyone just feels like they have to say something. Yeah. When you're younger anyway. It doesn't happen to me now. No one even, I don't know, talks to me or looks at me. I don't know. I must put off that vibe. Like,
maybe they're just like, he knows his shit.
Yeah. I prefer it anyway, but I remember being as a kid, like everyone thought they had to help me, and I was like, oh, not again, you know what I mean? Like someone wants to say something. So, but yeah, I would reach out to a mentor, get some guidance for sure. You know, because there's a lot that goes into motocross. It's a lot about the bike that you need to learn, and a lot about your health and fitness, and a lot about the mind. Probably more than anything, you need to learn about some psychology. And I've actually got a program now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. To help kids.
Oh, lovely.
For that reason, because when I was younger, I feel like I had to do it the hard way.
Yeah.
And had a rocky road.
Yeah.
And no one at my level now was teaching or offering any guidance.
Yeah.
So now that I'm there, I'm like, hell, I'm going to help the kids out. So I built a program just recently, and it's taken off. There's a lot of kids in there, and they're loving it. So
cool. And how do they get on board with this program? Like,
they just go to my website.
Okay.
deanferris.com.au.
Yeah. And is it all online? Or?
It's all online, yeah.
Yeah.
And I also have a Facebook page where I go live once a month and talk to all the students. So if they got any questions they want to know, they can just fire away.
They would love
that. It could be about their relationships with their their little girlfriends. It doesn't matter. I'll help them out.
How old are these kids we're talking about?
Oh, look, I think the youngest might be about 9 years old.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so my age group's like under 20s is kind of my target. They're the people that are still, that have the potential to keep going.
Yeah.
And most people after that have worked out what they want to do, or they've fallen off the perch anyway.
Yeah,
you know
okay.
what I mean? So that's my target market. But in saying that, I have a 33-year-old in my class as well that just started racing.
Yeah.
And he's loving the program as well because he wants to improve and get better, and he thinks it's great.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And so you're their mentor through the program, is that
Yeah, that's correct. Yep.
Yeah.
It's an online mentorship program, and I'll give them everything that I'm doing, give them guidance, give them tools.
Yeah.
And the idea is to teach them and not have a set program, because there's not one way that works with motocross, because everyone's a different body shape and, has, a different lifestyle and things like that. But I'll give them the tools, and if they want to make it, they can go and make, they've got it all there.
Yeah, fantastic. Oh, we'll have to put that in the comments below so they can reach out to you.
That'd be great.
Yeah. And I want to know, like, mentally, you mentioned mentally, like you said, with the health and the physical, what is it mentally that you need to prepare yourself with motocross? Well,
it's so difficult, you know what I mean? And the risk is so high when you're riding a bike, you know what I mean? Like if you're a golfer and you don't bring your A game to the golf course, you're going to shank a few balls into the lake, and that's, that's going to be the worst thing that could happen in your day, and you still get to go have a beer with your buddies after.
Yeah.
But motocross, like, you go on fifth gear wide open, hitting bumps and ruts and stuff, and the consequence is so high.
It's like do or die.
That's what I mean. If you don't bring your A game, you're likely going to end up on the dirt. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And then what have you learned that's helped you mentally with that?
Well, there's just so many things. Like, honestly, it's going to be like 70-80% of my program is the psychology of racing motocross.
Yeah.
But I would say the biggest thing would be just pulling I call it the A team together. And it's your influence of people around you. And I found that was really hard to, make work when I was younger. And it's something that you naturally just build over time. Yeah. And you end up with this big support network, and everyone's helping you to that big goal. Yeah. Yeah. But on top of that, you also, like I said, you need to have a high race IQ. And you need to be able to control your thoughts and be very conscious of what you're doing, because there's no point going out there and riding and just daydreaming. Yeah. Like most human beings do, you know what I mean? We're just kind of in our own little world and thinking about this and that and what we're doing tonight and blah, blah, blah. But if you want to really improve every session and make sure that you can, put your best foot forward, you need to be really conscious of what you're doing.
And present. Yeah.
And I think, well, for any sport, I think that's really important, honestly. Yeah. But in motocross especially, because like I said, the risk is so high.
Yeah, very interesting. Well, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast, Dean. I have one more question for you. What's next after you retire for you?
Oh, look, I've got a few things in the pipeline already.
Yeah.
Just naturally it come about, but I'm a brand ambassador for a couple of different things within motocross. I'll still be within the sport for sure. But I haven't thought too much more about it other than I'll be in the sport helping kids and, you know, I'll be teaching what I know. I really enjoy that, passing on the knowledge.
Yeah.
And, well, I think I've done pretty good out of motocross, so I'm not going to be going labouring or anything like that for sure.
Yeah.
I just want to be going to the motocross race and put my girls on the bus to go to school and things like that.
Yeah.
But and having a good time. But it's still years away, so I haven't put too much thought into it, to be honest.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, guys. Well, thank you for coming on to the podcast, Dean. And if you're interested in joining in on the school, even if you just want to see what it's about, you can contact Dean, and I'll put all of it in the comments below.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thanks for listening in, guys. If you're on Apple, please leave a 5-star written review. If you're on YouTube, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. All right, I'll see you next week with the next inspiring story.